say when fire resources recommend to evacuate resources, the first thing that we think about is how we're going to get those resources repopulated and get folks back into their homes. So some of the criteria that would keep folks out of their homes or keep them from doing a site visit of a home after it's been impacted by fire are some of these. One is obviously safety hazards. So flare-ups, heat areas within the fire, hazmat, hazardous materials. These could include batteries, fuel, other things like that that were impacted by the fire. Inhalation hazards. So even if you can't see smoke, some of the air might be of bad air quality that could be hazardous to your health. Skin hazards. So you could get things on your skin that are going to be negative to your health, and that's going to end up causing you problems in the future. Water. Think about water. Obviously, you have do not drink when it comes to some hazardous areas, and sometimes you have do not use where you can't use it at all. So utilities, down power lines. Another one is generators. People will fire up generators which backflow the lines, which can be a hazard to your health. Ingress or egress. Ingress and egress to your property could be blocked by down trees, down lines, things of that nature, so you can't get in and out from your property. Hazard trees. So trees that were impacted by the fire that are going to be hazardous for days to come. Basements or undermined roads. So roads where roots or things like that burned under the road and the road's no longer capable of having a vehicle pass. Current USAR or SAR components. So we have resources going through and doing searches to make sure that everything is clear and that there's not a crime scene, which is somewhere that there could have potentially been where somebody tragically had issues during the fire. Unstable walls and roofs. So areas where walls are unstable, and if you went, you're searching your property, and the wall could fall on you or a roof could fall on you. This can also vary the availability of various utilities and approval regarding inspection to ensure viability of occupancy. So once they go through and we get rid of all these hazards, making sure on a home that is still standing and is still somewhere that you're going to be able to live in the future, making sure that it's actually something that you can occupy. So last, I was going to talk, as I have in the past, on damage inspection numbers. So currently, at this point in the fire, we've inspected 7,855 structures and are 40% complete within the fire area. Unfortunately, 441 structures have been damaged and 3,988 have been destroyed.
Thank you, sir, for that information, and I hope that helps explain how we do our evac and repopulation. Up next to do an operational update and fire behavior is fire behavior analyst Dennis Burns.
Good afternoon, everybody. First, I'll talk a little about operationally what we're doing. You can see the black on the map. Obviously, the fire we feel is contained there, but we still have crews out there and are continuing to beef up those containment lines. Up here on top, we see this little bit of red and what we call a finger where this fire's sticking out there. Some of that ground is super steep. We can't put people on it, but we're working it with aircraft today. We're essentially, what we're doing is we put retardant around this area here, and we're beefing it up with even more retardant today, so it's getting like a triple layer retardant. Coming across the top, pretty much the same story. Crews continue to mop up, look for those sources of heat, and basically they're on a seek and destroy mission to those areas where we can get into. Coming along all the way, it's pretty much the same thing. We've actually reinforced crews over the last 2 days in anticipation of that potential offshore wind event. Fortunately, it does not look like it's occurring, but we do have quite a few folks in there. Same basic story, mop up, patrol, strengthen the lines. We've had some sources of heat in here. When a fire burns, especially as quickly as this one did, it doesn't necessarily take out all the fuels. It leaves residual heat, down logs, things like that with the canopy above. So we're still seeing flare-ups, especially since it's so dry. So going into fire behavior, the first thing and most importantly, not expecting the fire to leave its current footprint. Should be staying right where it's at. We've been testing it with moderate winds occasionally. Fortunately, we haven't seen the sustained winds, but more importantly, things are very dry out there, so a lot of those fuels are just essentially burning themselves out. Specifically in Altadena, one of the things I want to talk to you about, and I mentioned it yesterday, I'll reinforce it again today. Our infrared, we get a flight every night, is still showing, some heat here, and quite a bit of what we call isolated heats. That infrared plane can pick up something as big as a barbecue, or as small as a barbecue. And that's actually what we're looking at as the heat there. If you picture a barbecue pit and the coals are burning, you don't see a lot of smoke coming off of it. You see some heat waves, and that's the type of heat that is existing in the Altadena area. Unfortunately, even though you don't see smoke, it's still putting off carbon monoxide, and then whatever that source of that heat is, it could involve asbestos, formaldehyde, all these different chemicals. That is all in that, is what's coming off of that fire. So still a very hazardous area for our firefighters to work in, but we're not expecting any growth on the fire.
Thank you. Next up with the recovery operation, Jed Gaines.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'll give you a quick update on what we got going out there. Our USAR teams are continuing to search. Most of our teams and our 400 personnel are focused in the Altadena area. We do have a lot of damage inspection teams out there, as well as our hazmat team that's out mitigating any hazardous materials within the fire perimeter. Excuse me. Also, as we're continuing with our USAR operations, we are preparing for the current red flag warning that we are in. We have surge resources, and we've been prepping, and crews are out in the La Cañada area that are out at the, we've been prepping behind all the structures, bringing in additional retardant to prepare for the red flag warning. So far, everything is held within the current fire perimeter. The red flag warning has not been an issue, and we're hopeful that it will stay that way. We're confident that it'll stay that way again today and through tonight. We have brought in extra resources to stand by for the red flag warnings, and we have them pre-positioned throughout the fire. We do have a mobilization center that is stood up in the Inland Empire to surge any additional resources throughout Southern California if needed for new fires. Crews are continuing to go direct line where we can. We're using our mobile retardant base off of Mount Wilson, to bring in retardant down the edge of the fire line to areas that we can't get troops in. And we should have a lot of this stuff buttoned up here shortly. Sierra Madre, everything in Altadena along the edges are looking really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jed. Next up with weather is James White.
Good afternoon, everyone. James White, instant meteorologist. So I stood up here yesterday. I was talking about those red flag warnings, that potential for critical fire weather, and we are still in a red flag warning. The Weather Service in Oxnard continues to have us in a red flag warning until about 6 p.m. tomorrow. That said, it's been almost all good news from the past 24 hours weather-wise, because most of that red flag warning, we haven't seen those conditions materialize down here at the surface at lower elevations. We did get some stronger gusts at higher elevations. There was gusts 60, even 70 miles an hour there in the highest peaks of the mountains. And some of that has at points come down closer, but none of it has really been materialized here. And in fact, last night was actually ended up being calmer than some of the other nights we've had recently on the fire. So that's excellent news that that wind didn't end up materializing at lower elevations, because the potential was up there, and we definitely saw it in different spots. That said, that red flag warning is still in effect for until 6 p.m. tomorrow, and there is potential again tonight for some of those winds to surface. If they do, it most likely be between about 3 a.m. and 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. If they do, we'd expect some gusts down here 20 to 30 miles an hour. That said, in general, the most recent forecasts have continually showed this wind event on the weakening, on the calmer side. And that's also true what we're seeing in observations. So all that is wonderful and good news. Beyond the wind, we're still very, very dry. What has come down from the mountains is, if not the wind, that dry air. And so we do have RHs 10-15% across much of the area. Although we're going to start losing the wind tomorrow, it's going to remain very dry at least for the next couple days. And the fire behavior analyst may have mentioned it, sometimes those fuels have a lag with that RH, so that has its own danger associated with it. Thankfully, though, even that will start to give way late in the week, and we're still having high confidence in a great break this weekend with both calmer wind and higher RHs. There's even about a 10-15% chance of light rain. It won't be any meaningful rain, probably won't even be wetting, which means it'll be less than about a tenth of an inch. But still, nonetheless, it's a great break, and it'll be some of the calmest and most favorable conditions this fire has seen since it started.
Good evening or afternoon. Jen Croft, and I'm the Air Resource Advisor for this particular fire, and welcome to day 2 of improving air quality that's giving your lungs a chance to heal from the insults that they have endured during this event. You can expect those insults to kind of linger with you for another 3 to 4 weeks, and in some cases up to a few months, depending on the level of your exposure. Please be patient with that and consider visiting the fire.airnow.gov site for some tips and some ideas about things you can do to help your system heal up. Many of the questions I'm getting about the fire.airnow.gov site are, what do those colors mean and what do those dots mean, and what's the difference between the big dots and the little dots? You can see here, as you click on those little dots, you'll have 2 kinds of sensors. The little dots are what we call low-cost sensors from Purple Air or Clarity. Both of those are meeting the EPA criteria standards for being put on the web. And then over here on the other side are our portable monitors, or the criteria pollutant monitors. Both, one is portable and one is permanent. Right now we're using permanent monitors for the respiratory health. So you can see here, when you click on those little bubbles, these little icons will pop up. They show you some trends, they show you the current conditions, and they give you a little bit of insight into the measures you should do now to protect your lungs. So consider that for the next round, and as we repopulate and move into areas that may have more particulate, consider being aware of checking the Air Now site before you go that direction. Over here you can see the trends that happened for the daily impacts to your air quality, and you can see that for a few days there you definitely got some significant impacts across this area, the entire forecast area. We hope that will improve. So as we start to repopulate, things I need you to consider, once the hazmat and the damage instruction teams and the rest of the folks clear these properties for reentry, we've got some points for you to consider and take a look at. It mainly is in concern with the attachment that we have with our residences and the tendency to go in and want to retrieve things. Please be aware that there's still a lot of stuff out there, and so if you desire to go back into, whether it's a recovery zone or your house is still standing, here's some things to consider to protect yourself, to protect your family, and to limit the continuation of the insults to your lungs. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm always available. Thank you.
Thank you both, James and Jen, for the update information. Next, for an evacuation and public safety update with Los Angeles County Sheriff, Captain Williams.
So I just want to mention, with all of the heavy winds that could be happening over the next couple of days, we want everyone to be extremely vigilant as they start to repopulate in some of the areas. If you get an evacuation warning, we ask that you leave immediately. It's best to be very prepared just in case something does happen. So have some things packed, ready to go. We don't want people scrambling, looking for things, vital things that they need, medication, certain things like that. We don't want you scrambling for those things at the last minute. It could delay you getting to a safe area. So please remain vigilant as we deal with these things over the next couple of days. There are damaged areas that are still very dangerous. They're being assessed daily. There are people that meet twice a day to assess certain areas. This is a high priority for us. And again, in order for an area to be downgraded, it has to go, be signed off by all of these different departments: the fire department, public works, different utilities, public health, and of course the sheriff's department. And they all have to agree before they can downgrade an area from evacuation order to an evacuation warning area. It is a high priority. We're trying to get people back to their residence, but we want to make sure that that area is safe before we do so. As of today, we have around over 3,600 properties that have been searched. Just yesterday, there were 1,800 properties that have been searched. The goal is to search every single property to deem it safe before we open up an area. They are continuing the searches every day, just checking on the area and making assessments. Some people that may want to know the assessment of their property. They can do so at a website. It's recovery.lacounty.gov. If they can go to that website, they can send in or type in their address, and it actually show pictures of your property to let you know if it has been assessed and the extent of the damage. Again, that's recovery.lacounty.gov. A few public safety updates. I want to just let everybody know that we still have over 350 people in place, deputies protecting the area and assigned specific missions. We also are still working with our partners, California Highway Patrol, Pasadena PD, National Guards, and a lot of different agencies that are assisting with all of this. The 6 p.m. curfew is still in place, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. We ask that people not be in an evacuation ordered area. Again, that only applies for the evacuation ordered areas between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. We have made some progress. There is an area that has been repopulated or opened up to repopulation. It has been downgraded from an evacuation ordered area to a warning. It is Lincoln, moving north, Lincoln Avenue, from Woodbury all the way to Altadena Drive. However, it's only the west side of Lincoln that is open, that has been downgraded for a evacuation warning. The east side is still considered evacuation ordered, and no one is allowed in that area. We will have checkpoints up along those streets and any entry points. Again, that's from Woodbury on Lincoln, traveling north all the way up to Altadena Drive, only the west side of Lincoln Avenue. The best street, if you're trying to get to that area, we recommend people going up Windsor. That's the best way to get up there. I know these are still trying times. We ask for the public's cooperation. They've been awesome so far, and we just ask you guys to continue to bear with us and be patient. We appreciate your cooperation, and we're working as hard as we can to deal with this whole situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker from LA County Public Works, Deputy Director Steve Berger.
Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Berger with LA County Public Works. I'd like to start by thanking our first responders who've been so critical in fighting these fires, and I want to express pride in my staff for assisting them as they responded to this. And as we move into full recovery, that's really where our Public Works crews come into play. We're going to be working to make sure the infrastructure is safe for repopulation, safe for you. And we've been doing that in conjunction with fire and sheriff. We're working to open up the areas that are going to be repopulated first, so we can make the roadways safe. We can make the trees that have been damaged safe. We've got a lot of tree crews out there, and we're very happy to say we're staying ahead of the repopulation. We're coordinating and get everything cleaned up and safe for the community to come in and have our roads and other infrastructure safe. I do want to let everyone know when you come in, although we've opened up the roads, the signals aren't going to be working. There's going to be stop signs in their place, and you're still going to see obstructions in the roadway. So please drive very slowly. I would recommend no more than 5 to 10 miles an hour, 5 recommended, and just heed all the work that's going on out there. We've got a lot of utilities utility crews and others out there. The other role we're taking is we're inspecting the intact structures. We want to make sure when people come in, they're safe to enter. So I want to make a distinction that's safe to enter. We normally look for a fully habitable structure that includes potable water, and in this case, I think we know the water systems is a ways away from being functional, and there's clearly currently a do not drink water order that includes do not bathe. We're looking to make the structure safe so you can get in there and begin your recovery. When we're looking at them, we're going to identify whether they're safe to come into. If we don't, we're going to put a red tag on it. And I want to caution you, if we put a red tag on the house, that means we've identified something that's not safe and you shouldn't enter it. If that happens, please contact us because we want to talk through that with you. We can talk about it. It's possible we can work with you to figure out a way that either we could get that red tag lifted or advise you on that or get that taken care of. So with that, I think I'll leave it. Actually, I will mention the other role we're going to have moving forward here in the near future is the what you've heard described as a complex process to have the debris removed from your property. And I say complex, but when it gets set up, it's going to be user-friendly, and we think it's going to be something that's going to provide the debris removal, and we'll get those properties and lots cleaned, ready to rebuild. And so we're going to be populating a website in the next couple of days with some more information on that. We're going to have a team of people that are going to be able to advise you on that. And then as we move into full recovery and we get the community ready to rebuild, we've got a team of engineers just anxious to get together with you and cut through the red tape. We're already brainstorming on ways to streamline this, work with you as you rebuild, and just get the houses rebuilt as quickly as possible. So I'm going to leave it at that. And once again, I want to thank the community for their patience and ask that you work with us as we work with you to make this community whole again. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker from the LA County Joint Information Center, Kevin Chavez.
Hello, I am Kevin Chavez, here on behalf of the Los Angeles County Emergency Operations Center and Coordinated Joint Information Center. As we continue toward the road of recovery, we wanted to share some updates that you may find useful during this journey. A disaster recovery center and local assistance center have opened up today to assist residents. The center, located at Pasadena City College Community Education Center, is a one-stop shop where residents can find help navigating the recovery process. The center offers resources for financial assistance, housing, funds for repair, and more to help individuals, families, and businesses. Visit recovery.lacounty.gov for location information and hours of operation. We understand there have been many questions that you may have regarding the recovery process. We encourage you to continue to visit recovery.lacounty.gov for updates and future announcements. Finally, Los Angeles County thanks everyone who has shown overwhelming generosity in our time of need. Thanks to you, our donations are at capacity and have helped many of the affected. We encourage those who wish to continue to contribute to consider monetary donations to the number of organizations that are doing work on the ground to assist those in need. We urge you to consider donations to trusted, verified organizations such as ENLA, the Emergency Network Los Angeles, the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and the California Community Foundation. A financial contribution is the fastest, most flexible, and most effective method of donating. These proceeds go to organizations on the ground who know where the need is and support local businesses that support local economies. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. Next up for our Unified Incident Commanders will be Deputy Chief Pappas and Chief Kevin Boha.
Good evening. We are the Eaton Incident Unified Commanders. I just wanted to express my gratitude for being able to meet some of you last night at the Pasadena Convention Center Evacuation Shelter. And I want to assure you that Chief Bohill and I and the Unified Command team that is here will continue our efforts. We will advocate for you and continue all of our efforts in finding the best ways to help you get back to normal, to get you back to your homes, and to help stand you up in this very difficult time. Thank you.
So that's going to conclude our presenters this evening. To start our question and answer, I'm going to ask for Assistant Chief Springler to come up and answer some questions that's been presented.
Hey, good afternoon, Pat Springle, local fire chief, community of Altadena. So I've received many questions from the public regarding 911 services, and we talked about it, a little bit about it yesterday. So all requests for emergency services, even within the fire zone, should utilize the 911 system. This includes both fire requests and law enforcement requests. For the Altadena community, fire stations 11, fire station 12, Fire Station 66 are all operating as per normal. Calls for services will be directed via the 911 system and appropriately sent to the incident through LA County Fire or through LA County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
I'm going to bring Jen Kraft back up for air resource questions.
Okay, we've got two questions here. One is the EPA going to test and assess my property? Right now, in terms of the exposure to the volatile organics and the particulate that's out there, we have the South Coast Air Quality Management District working with us, along with Public Health and the hazmat team, to evaluate and collect some samples to determine the extent and the severity. We have not broken any thresholds with those exposures, but we did see an elevated in the regional monitor. The next question is, can you please ask this for the rest of Los Angeles area? Are we safe to breathe the air even though the AQI says it's good? Yes, you are fine. The air quality is an ambient reflection that will be influencing your lungs right now. So when you see greens and yellows, that's a good story for your lungs. When you start to see orange, that's when people who have pre-existing conditions, lung conditions, heart conditions will start to struggle. We also have issues with our elderly and children when that orange color shows up. When you start to see reds and purples and dark maroons, that's when perfectly healthy people start to have significant issues and problems. We see an increase in cardiac events in people who had no pre-existing conditions. So that's when you need to pay attention. There's apps available for you to track this information on your mobile, and I highly encourage, not just for this event, but every day you do work outside, to take a look at that AirNow map before you incur the air quality in this area. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's going to conclude our question and answer, but please do continue to send them in via our email or via online. I do have information officers that will be answering as they come in. I do have a series of FEMA questions. We're not ignoring those. We are getting answers for those as soon as we can, as well as a representative that can address them. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thank you.